So I asked Chat GPT how could the wave particle duality of light be tied to or compared to the idea of the universal field of consciousness being like a metaphysical representation of like the body of God, for example. And this was its response. The universal field as the wave. In quantum physics, a wave describes all possible outcomes before measurement. Likewise, the universal field of consciousness can be seen as the infinite ocean of potentialities, the mind of God, where all possibilities exist at once. Just as a light wave spreads everywhere, consciousness is omnipresent, not bound by space or time. So the quantum wave function is like the potential states of light. The universal field is the potential states of existence, thought, or being, which is like the cosmic ocean, sort of, or the like I did a whole thing on the story of creation and the metaphysics of that in the book of Genesis, and that's a really good example of like how the waters in the book of Genesis and the creation story are like the waters of potential for manifest creation. Then it's particle as the manifestation. When a photon collapses from a wave into a particle, one outcome is realized. Similarly, when universal consciousness expresses itself in form, we see specific concrete manifestations: a person, a thought, a star, a moment in time. This is God becoming immanent in the physical world. The parallelist photon detection is one possibility made real, and human experience is one thread of God's infinite possibilities actualized. This is a good way to represent how we individually as humans are reflections of the image of God, and how we are given of his spirit as it is being embodied in matter. Okay, next is the dual nature, the infinite versus the individual. Light is both wave, which is infinite potential, non-local and expansive, and particle, localized, measurable, and discrete. Consciousness, or God, can also be seen as both wave-like, in the sense that it is universal, infinite, and beyond form, and particle-like, each individual being, thought, or creation. This mirrors the paradox of the divine. God is both transcendent, which is beyond creation, and immanent, which is within creation. And this is just the illustration of how God can be both a local, focalized point of, matter, as well as being the entirety of the non-local universal field of the cosmic ocean or whatever. Okay. Observation and collapse, the act of awareness. In quantum mechanics, observation is what collapses the wave into a particle. Awareness or consciousness is what crystallizes potential reality into experienced reality. This is where human consciousness and divine consciousness overlap. To observe is to participate in creation. The metaphysical implications of this is that God's consciousness is the ultimate observer that sustains reality. Our individual consciousness is a fractal of that, co-creating by perceiving, which again kind of reinforces the idea of us, being made in his image. That's literally what fractal means, but in a much more scientific way, of course. But yeah, it's we are made in his image as, little gods on earth, so to speak. That's not a great way to put it, but we are also creators, like he is, and that was part of the intended design. Okay, and the theological, metaphysical synthesis is, as a wave, it is God as an infinite, formless consciousness, the quote-unquote source. It's a particle. God is manifest creation, the Word made flesh. When you combine wave and particle, you get God as both unseen potential and realized being. The dual nature of light can be read symbolically as a scientific reflection of divine paradox, the unity of the infinite and the finite. So, applying wave-particle duality to the universal field of consciousness looks like this. The wave reflects God's infinite unseen potential, his omniscience and omnipresence. The particle reflects God's expression in tangible, finite form. Us, matter, events, ideas, thoughts, things like that, anything that becomes manifest. And then consciousness is the bridge between those two, the wave and the particle. It's the medium that allows the infinite to become finite and the finite to return to the infinite. And I would like to relate that back to astrology in a sense. When it comes to consciousness being the bridge, the observer, being the creator, or it needing an observer to exist. So I guess in a sense that makes the observer the creator. But in any regards, that in and of itself is the epitome of what the spirit of Mercury actually is, both in a metaphysical and spiritual sense.